Remember to be kind to yourself, and let's change the world one family at a time. So you mentioned about neuroaffirming methods that you use. Love to hear a bit more about that. What can parents do to finally get the kids to sleep?
Well, the traditional standard advice, should we say, is aimed at neurotypical brains, and it often fails neurodivergent children because we're not thinking about their sensory needs. We're not thinking about maybe their demand avoidance. We're not thinking about how can we support ADHD brain who's hyper-focused on something they're doing before bed to help them transition up to bed. So it's trying to thinking about sleep from a neurodivergent brain perspective, coming up with ideas and practical strategies that are going to work with their child's brain rather than against it. So, for example, a bedtime routine is just like so stacked with demands. Like first off, they've got to stop doing what they were doing. Then we've got to get upstairs. Then we've got to get on the toilet. Then we've got to wash our hands. Then we've got to get undressed. Then we've got to get in the bath. Maybe we have to wash our hair. Maybe we've got to wash our body. Then we've got to get out when we're told to get out. We've got to get dry. And there's just so many demands that they really, really stack up. And lots of neurodivergent children just don't cope with the demand stacking before bed. So a nice neuroaffirming way of doing it is thinking, well, actually, that it's about getting into a rhythm rather than a routine. And maybe they can clean their teeth after dinner. They can have an early sensory bath rather than trying to cluster everything together, or even really pull it back on people's expectations of how many baths does my child actually need? Are they actually that dirty? Do they need to bath or shower every night? What are the critical days that it's important to shower? And making that feel really, really predictable for their brain. So they know, on a Sunday night or Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, I'm going to have my hair washed. We make it really predictable.
Oh, that's really cool. It's something we've probably done without really thinking about it with our daughter as well. She's sleeping a lot better. She has a shower in the morning now instead of at night. And that one change has made quite a big difference. You're not going to bed with wet hair, because then you've got sensory problems with, you've got to dry your hair. The hairdryer can be not a great time for the hairdryer when you want to go to sleep in a minute, all that noise and all that. She doesn't like the hairdryer anyway, so she'll tend to just have a towel on her head. So now you're going to bed with wet hair and little things like that.
It's a sensory nightmare.
Yeah. Well, back to sleep. Are some of us genuinely just wired to be night owls? Or are we just making excuses because nobody wants to go to bed?
So I think it is really easy for what's called a delayed sleep phase to happen for neurodivergent people. It's a highly correctable or solvable sleep problem. And a delayed sleep phase is where somebody really struggles to fall asleep, but once they are asleep, they sleep very well. But then they can find it hard to get going in the morning. They're kind of quite groggy and maybe a bit grumpy. So we have night owls and we have larks. Larks are people who are up early in the morning, and your night owls are those who just want to be awake late at night. And that's when they're kind of maybe when their creativity comes out. And most people of the population kind of sit somewhere in the middle of those. But you do have the two extremes. But I think, as I said earlier, that, a lot of neurodivergent people, when things go quiet, that's when the creativity comes out and they can now. I was just having a chat with a friend yesterday who's suspected ADHD, and she was saying, she didn't sleep well. She was working till midnight or something. I went, did you go into ADHD hyperfocus? And she went, yeah, I did. She just started bashing out all the ideas that she'd been mulling over. She just got them all onto the computer and into Canva, and off she was going.
Yeah. Brilliant. The best time for me to sleep is really annoying, because it'll be a program that I probably want to watch. Like, for example, we was watching Star Wars Lego Rebuild the Galaxy. Brilliant. Enjoying it with the family. Eva was really into it, having a good time. And that's when I watch telly with my eyes closed. I just
Okay.
start relaxing so much that I'm either going to go to sleep watching telly, or I'm going to binge eat crisps and food that I shouldn't. That I know I still eat it, but it's like I've lost a lot of weight as well. Where I'm eating healthier because of speaking to people on the podcast and learning about nutrition and all that sort of stuff.
Um,
And my wife's we're not completely gluten free. She is, but much less gluten in a diet. Can all that sort of impact sleep?
yeah, I think there's a lot of talk about nutrition and sleep. And when I'm supporting families, I'm not looking to overwhelm them with all the different parts that we need to think about. But there's also a lot of misinformation about nutrition and sleep. So, for example, like foods that are high in tryptophan, which is things like turkey and foods like that, but also McDonald's is high in tryptophan, or not everyone sleeps well after having McDonald's. So there's not much evidence to support that. But like, for example, magnesium, like we know magnesium helps adults with sleep. We don't have the information or the data yet or the evidence to say that it's good for children's sleep. So as a professional, I can't recommend it, but there's definitely families out there who say, yeah, magnesium's worked really well for my child. Great. But we know that there's a strong correlation between ADHD and restless leg syndrome. And restless leg syndrome is that kind of urge to suddenly like kick your legs out. You might get the feeling of electricity in your legs and you just like kick your legs out suddenly. And that feeling, the electricity feeling goes away when you've done the movement. And we know that's linked to low ferritin levels, so low iron. So we think about getting more iron into your diet or having iron supplements while you start building up the iron in your diet. So yeah, there are conditions like neurodivergent conditions that link with sleep disorders, and they can be improved by iron. So yeah,
Well, that's interesting.
it's fascinating.
If you could sneak into someone's house 1 hour before bedtime, what's the first thing you'd confiscate or change to help them sleep?
Confiscate or change. No, I was thinking like a lot of people think that screens are and blue light and things are terrible for sleep, and the evidence around that is changing.
Oh, really?
And there's a guy in Australia called Michael Gradizar who's really challenging the narrative around blue light and sleep. And so I wouldn't be taking any screens away. Because lots of screens are helpful for children and young people for regulation on the run up to bedtime. But what I would probably do and change is make bedtime more fun, because lots of neurodivergent families have been struggling with bedtime for many, many years. And all the joy and about bedtime has just been sucked. And parents are going into bedtime thinking, oh, I'm just going to be here for 3 hours. And they're wasting whole hours and hours and hours at night doing bedtime for so long. And you've got two nervous systems who are kind of butting up against each other because the parents aren't going into bedtime regulated. The child's not going into bedtime regulated. So I try to bring more fun into bedtime. So we're meeting sensory needs. We're getting children laughing. That gives them one-to-one time, and one-to-one connection with their parents is great and the carers. But also when they're laughing, they are engaging their parasympathetic nervous system, which disengages the fight and flight mode. And that's exactly what we want going up to bedtime. We want children going into bedtime feeling really relaxed and happy. So getting joy back into bedtime is something that I would do.
Maybe that's why Lego Star Wars made me go to sleep then, because it was really funny and it just made me really relaxed.
Yeah, there you go. You're relaxed. And I talk about sleep being a ninja. Like, you can't say, right, I'm going to sleep now. It's like sleep just creeps up on you. And that's what happened to you. You were relaxed, you were happy, and sleep just crept up. And the worst thing you can do is to tell a child, just go to sleep, because that kind of makes them feel like it's a choice. It's not a choice. It is, they're just waiting, like sleep will come. It's a good ninja. It will creep up on you.
Yeah. Well, what about though if they're doing something stimulating, like playing Fortnite? That's all you're on alert, high alert. We've got someone who's trying to kill me. I've got to kill them.
So this sleep specialist in Australia, he looked at teenagers. He brought teenagers into the lab to look at the effect of blue light. And then people in the sleep community are saying, well, it's not just about blue light. It's about blue light and also content. Like, what are they doing? So he got the teenagers to come back and play a game they'd never played before. And it was like a high intensity game. And they realized that the average delay in falling asleep was only about 4 minutes. So it's not really significant. But then he brought them back and he was like, right, well, now we're going to say you can play this game, you can eat this pizza, but tomorrow morning you've got to get up at 7:00 and you're going to be going to school. But you'd get to determine your own bedtime. And lots of them determined and said what their bedtime was going to be, but they weren't able to stick to it. And so the really important thing is that screens don't come into bed, because it's really hard to choose to turn something off. So what can happen is you can get something called sleep displacement. So the shift in their falling asleep time and their wake time comes. Yeah, the high intensity games are not necessarily delaying them falling asleep.
But it's the location of the game. So if the PlayStation's in their bedroom, they might just forget that they need sleep because they're so into the game. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and also, like, the bedroom has then become a really wakeful space. If they then think, right, well, I'm going to be turning off at 10:30 or whatever, and then they've got to get into bed. Well, it's hard for them to now switch. Their brain doesn't associate their bedroom as a place where they sleep. It associates the room as a really wakeful space. So I would encourage that if they're gaming in the evening, to have a set time to come off. We're going to help them come off at that time. Then we're going to take them out of their room, go do something downstairs with them, and then we're going to come back. So when they come back, the brain is like, oh, I'm now going to be getting into bed and I'm going to fall asleep quickly. So that separation time's important.